Okay, this video goes out to Christians, primarily. Although anyone that's interested in this series or whatever that I've been doing is, I'd like to hear from you as well. Glad to have you watching it. But basically, I want to hear from Christians on this because I've been what I've been doing for the last few days. I've been reading Christian claims about why I should believe in it a lot for the last few days, and without reading the counter arguments, because I know the counter arguments pretty well. So I just want to read the Christian claims, and so yeah, I've been doing a lot of that, and I almost convinced myself that it was a legitimate possibility. But then a thought occurred to me. Okay, and this thought is, before Jesus, as a Christian, you must acknowledge that Judaism, even if you believe Pharisaic Judaism was corrupted, true Judaism was much different than Christianity, you must acknowledge, because they did and were told to keep the laws of the Torah. So they attempted to keep the laws of the Torah, which I know you think is too hard for them, and they didn't keep it well, but they tried, and God commanded them to try. So Judaism, even uncorrupted Judaism, according to you, still attempted to keep the laws of the Torah, and was different from Christianity, because there was no new covenant yet. So it seems to me, and what it seemed to me before I could even think about taking the plunge, is that this new covenant would be spoken of clearly in the Tanakh, or the Old Testament as you would call it. So I tried to look online and find out where was the new covenant spoken of, and all I can find, the only mention of a new covenant is Jeremiah 31, which I'm going to read and give some commentary to in this video. And because it seems to me that with such a drastic change in religions, from Judaism to Christianity, when they were told that they would keep the Torah forever, even if you don't believe that olam literally means forever, and you think it means until the end of the covenant, essentially, which for the sake of argument, I'll say that that's a legitimate interpretation, okay? I'm giving Christians that one, even though that's not necessarily true, but I'm going to give it to them. So, but, nonetheless, that's a very drastic change. So it seems that, how can a Jew just believe that the new covenant has come when there's no real evidence for it other than fulfilled prophecies that they wrote in a book that are supposed to be fulfilled prophecies, but there's no way of knowing. There's no fundamental change. So it seems to me that if you're going to accept the religion of Christianity, it has to be spoken of clearly in the Tanakh or the Old Testament, or else what reason is there to believe it? There has to be some foundation in the Old Testament that shows clearly that there is a new covenant where the Jews will no longer keep the Torah the way that they used to. Okay? So my question to Christians is, where are these passages that speak of the new covenant, that speak of Christianity? Like I said, this video is to Christians, not so much Messianic believers who believe in keeping the Torah, because this video doesn't apply to them. They think that the new covenant is very similar to the old covenant. So this video isn't to them, but it's to Christians. Okay? So that's my question to you. Where was Christianity spoken of in the Old Testament? Clearly, where you can read it and be like, okay, yeah, it's clear that at one point or another there would be a religion where the Jews wouldn't be keeping the same laws that they were before. Okay, that's why I want to know, where's that spoken of? And to cap off this video, I'm going to read Jeremiah 31, which is where the one place where new covenant is spoken of, okay? And I'm going to give my commentary on it. This is starting with Jeremiah 31, verse 31. Behold, the days, and this is King James Version, so I'm not even reading a Jewish translation here, where they might have, according to a Christian, translated incorrectly to make a point. I'm reading a Christian translation, King James. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the tribe of Judah. So my first thoughts are, this covenant goes out to the Israelites, the Jews, the house of Judah and the house of Israel. Okay? Now, I understand the Christian position pretty well as I understand the Jewish position. So I can understand that a Christian will probably say, I'm guessing, that when it says the house of Israel and the house of Judah, it's speaking, what it really means is the new Israel, the Christians. So when it says Israel, it really means Christians, because they're the new Israel. So, which I don't necessarily believe, but for the sake of argument, I'll agree that that's a possibility. Okay, so we'll move on. Even though there's that one potential flaw in the whole issue of translating it as the covenant with the whole world, when it says the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Anyways, 32. not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law, the word there, I'm going to go to concordance, I'm guessing is Torah. I will put my, yes, Torah. And so a Jew will say, see, they want to, and even in the New Covenant, you keep the laws of the Torah, and a Christian will say, well, it's speaking of the moral code, not the ceremonial laws, and Torah simply means instructions, not necessarily the 5 books of Moses, so therefore that doesn't prove anything, so I'll move on. In their inward parts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. So, one of the biggest difference between the Old Covenant and the New Covenant seems to be that there's no longer the need for everyone teaching each other, because everyone knows God. There's worldwide knowledge of God, and that hasn't come yet. So how can you say, this is a question, I'm not even being accused of, how can you say that the new covenant has come when the one place that a new covenant is mentioned, the defining characteristic of the new covenant is that everyone will know God and no one will need to teach each other? Then why do you have preachers? Why do you have churches with heads of churches that teach? Why do you have missionaries? Everyone already knows God in the new covenant, according to Jeremiah. So therefore, there's no need for missionaries and preachers and stuff. So that's my second flaw to me with the interpretation of it being Christianity being spoken of, is that clearly the new covenant hasn't come because people still don't know God. There's still not worldwide knowledge of God. Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and the stars for light by night, which divideth the sea, and when the waves thereof roar. The Lord of hosts is his name. Okay, that's the final blow that I have against the Christian interpretation. If those ordinances depart from before me, saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. So it's saying, if the ordinance of the sun and the stars and the sun depart from the Lord God, then the seed of Israel shall also cease from being a nation before me forever. So you interpret, Christians, when it says that this covenant is for the house of Israel and the house of Judah. I assume you interpret that it means New Israel. But yet, it specifically says the seed of Israel shall cease from being a nation before me forever. So in verse 36, it seems to pretty clearly say that it's speaking of literally Israel, the Jews, not New Israel. Okay? So those are my 3 problems with the Christian interpretation of Jeremiah 31 and the New Covenant. And so those are my thoughts, and then my question is, if not Jeremiah 31, because even if you believe that's referring to the New Covenant, it doesn't clearly say that Israel will no longer keep the laws of the Torah, at least the ceremonial laws of the Torah, okay? It doesn't say that. So I'm asking, where does it say, anywhere in the Old Testament, there's one verse where it alludes to it, that the Jews will no longer keep the laws of the Torah? And if you can give me that, then who knows? But I have not seen any evidence for this verse, and I don't believe it exists. But if it does, I want to hear about it. So, Christians, let me know.